Greetings and salutations, viewer. My name's Ben, and here's all I am. Being Ben and making friend. That's my motto. The gender war. Boys versus girls. Boys rule, girls drool. Over me, that is. Girls say, boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. But you know what us guys say? Girls go to Venus to get more stupider than that. Got 'em. Absolutely unrecoverable. You know what else is unrecoverable, though? Cooties. Am I right, fellas? You are up to date on your cootie shots, right? I once saw a guy get cooties. I'll never forget it. Started saying about how Tay Sway is bae. Oh my god. He and I used to be mad love. But those things, you just gotta shake it off. Because that's what happens in the gender war. Just kidding. Newsflash, the gender war is fake. I know it's a real Alex Jones take, but men and women love each other. Wake up, sheeple. All this separation is a sham, and I can prove it. Because the real problem is not that certain people were born with the wrong genitals in between their legs. It's that most people do not understand the difference between right and wrong. If you were to go up to like a random group of people and you were to ask them what like the definition, like the basic definition of what a human right is, how many people, like man or woman, do you think would be able to get like even close to an actual genuine definition of what a human right is? I wrote down my own personal working definition of what human rights are. The inherent, universal, and unalienable sovereignty bestowed unto all sapient beings by nature, by which they may express their being in freedom so long as that expression does not infringe upon the sovereignty of another. Alright. I feel like that's pretty basic stuff. I mean, you could probably just sum that up just as the golden rule, like do unto others as they would do unto you. But how many people, if you were to ask them, were to say like even something like close to that definition? I know that most people like want to protect human rights, but the problem is that most people don't understand what they are. Which is why that there's these ideas in this like new age like feminist zone versus the like red pill meninist zone that like, oh man, if all women were in power in the world, would be paradise. Or if we just take all women out of power, we gave them no right to vote or anything, the world would be greater. It'd just be all land-owning males. But like, seriously, give me like examples of men and women in power that don't suck absolute butthole. You can't do it, because all of them suck more butthole than a sewer. They're all straight shitheads. All of them. The problem is not, like, exactly patriarchy or matriarchy. That's the problem is the archy part of that word. The people ruling over you without consent or respect for human rights. So I'm going to give an example of a human rights abuse that most men and women have problem understanding that it's a human rights abuse. Because most of them, to some level, are okay with it. And that would be divorce alimony, as a form of modern-day legalized slavery. Alright, so a couple gets divorced. Usually the woman is the one who's doing the divorce, so let's use that for the example. The woman divorces the dude guy fella, and, I don't know, the judge takes away half of his wages in order to give to her. Let's say she was like a stay-at-home wife or something, and she doesn't have any take-in income. So then the judge decides that just taking away half of that guy's income without his consent and at gunpoint is like moral in any kind of justifiable way. And most women will say that, I don't know, if she had children or something, that was okay, that's moral and not a form of slavery. But, like, imagine if this was the antebellum South, and some plantation-owning woman said, oh, well, I'm dependent on all of these black slaves for my income. If I didn't have them working the plantation, how would I feed my children? Like, that's not a good excuse. And just garnishing your wages unconsensually and at gunpoint is the same deal. It might not be ball and shackle slavery, but there are other kinds of slavery besides ball and shackle slavery. And a lot of guys have a problem with that too, because the majority of the people enforcing that law in the police and military are themselves men, perpetrating it onto other men. So, I mean, I realize most men are the victims of this particular form of slavery, but there are other forms like debt slavery, like rest in peace college kids, right? And there are other women who have to go through divorce alimony, like, I'm sorry, Adele. That sucks. And I know that this is a huge problem that most people, like, don't understand, because my own mom did this to my dad when they got divorced without realizing it as a form of abuse. And my mom is an absolute sweetie pie, so this is not an intentional thing. This is like an ignorance thing. Like, most people wouldn't do it if they understood that this was a problem. So really, the entire gender war is like just misplaced fear because of a fundamental misattribution, like, error. The problem is not men or women, it's the like unconsensual, like, imposed power from people up top imposed on people at the bottom. What I'm trying to say is that men and women should be lovers and not fighters, because Ben and women already are lovers, so the rest of you guys need to step it up. I could go on and on, but I think I'll end it here. I want to make more series of, like, shorter videos so I don't take so much time making them. So, thank you guys so much for liking and commenting and subscribing on my videos, which is what you do if you're a real lover. Am I right, guys? Till the next episode.